The only
Fight Fiend forecast is here, and we're going to talk about the bad motherfucker belt, UFC 326, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira. For the second time, this is going to be one hell of a card. We got 13 fights to talk about right now. There could be one get added later in the week here. You got to take a look at some of these fights that got fizzled, canceled. Brian Ortega, Renato Moicano, that fight got pulled from this event. Ortega had injuries. Paulo Costa had to pull out versus Bruno Fieda. Dusko Todorovic, another withdraw on the event versus Donte Johnson. And then Gaston Bolanos was supposed to fight Ju Sang Yu. 4 fizzled bouts. Fight Fiends are here, ready to go after UFC Mexico. Make sure to smash that like button before we get going. Subscribe if you have not yet. Spin and wheelhouse kick that subscribe button before we get going. Stay forecasted. Prop Fiends will be live Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And before we get going, if you want the bets, if you want in to the community for absolutely free, Discord's there. All links in the description below. Instagram, X, TikTok. We're on all platforms. Stay forecasted. Now let's get straight into the BMF fight card. UFC 326 in Las Vegas. With the first fight of the night, we're going to talk about Luke Fernandez, 6-0 undefeated, off Dana White's Contender Series. This is a finisher, 5 knockout wins. And I would say all 5 are in round 1, if I'm not mistaken. All but 1. He has a second round finish here by knockout. And he is very explosive. He comes out of the gate looking for the finish. He fought at CFFC, where he was a champion. He grappled with Phil Haas, found an anaconda choke there before Dana White's Contender Series. And recently on the Contender Series, he got somewhat of a layup fight. His opponent wasn't that great. His opponent even lost his most recent bout in round 1 by knockout. So the level of competition that Luke Fernandez has fought in the past, in my opinion, not as good as his opponent, Rodolfo Bellato, who's been in there with some tough guys. Now, he did do a great acting job with Paul Craig, which is what he's most known for, but he went to a majority draw decision with Jimmy Crute. He went to a unanimous decision and lost in his most recent bout to Navajo Sterling. And these opponents are much higher level than anyone that Luke Fernandez has fought. Now, Eor Potieria and Murtaza Talla are 2 recent wins, the most recent ones for Bellato, and they're not bad wins. He knocked them out round 2. Later into this fight, knowing that Fernandez is a first-round finisher, Bellato could take over. He has power in the hands, and he does have a couple submission wins, unlike Fernandez. I said Fernandez had a submission against Phil Haas, but that was a grappling match. Phil Haas was just a grappling match there, not a real MMA fight. In the amateur scene there, Luke Fernandez found a couple submissions, but Bellato has 4 submissions and 7 knockouts, and he's fought the better competition in my opinion. This is his 5th UFC fight, and he could be ready to go off 3 shaky bouts, a draw, no contest, and then the unanimous decision loss. This is a guy I don't want to overly count out. Tough Brazilian. Underdogs have not been Birkin. First fight of the night. This is a pay-per-view. I believe the underdog's Birkin. So I'm ever so slightly going to pick him to win actually here after a bad night in Mexico. A couple dogs not Birkin, not doing what I thought they would do. I'm going to take a chance here on Rodolfo Bellato. I think in round 2 and 3, he's going to find a finish in this fight as an underdog. First fight of the night, Fernandez making his debut, possible jitters on this big event, and his level of competition not as great, in my opinion. Bellato was a guy that fought Vitor Petrino way back in 2022, his first time on Dana White's Contender Series. He suffered the knockout loss, and of course, Luke Fernandez, with the ferocious power early, could find that finish. But I'm going to say he doesn't. I'm going to take another wild chance on an underdog, although my underdog picks have not been great this year in 2026. Hopefully we can turn things around in Las Vegas. This is a great opportunity. First fight of the night. Taking a look at some other wins for Luke Fernandez. He beat a guy 8-5, 4-2, 1-0, 2-1. So he just hasn't proven to me that he can compete with a guy like Rodolfo Bellato. This is a big test, big step up in competition, and I'm going to take the underdog here. In the next one, I'm going to take the favorite with confidence in this one. Gaston Bolanos is taking an opponent change here, and Bolanos is very good on the feet. He's a good boxer, but on the ground, he just got submitted in his last fight, and he took a long layoff before that second last fight. After the layoff, he came back, and he did get the win. But this is a guy I don't know if I can overly trust. He's 8-5 MMA record, and his win was to Cortavius Romeus off Dana White's Contender Series. He lost to Marcus McGee as well. Forgot to mention that. He got knocked out in that one. He's been finished in all of his losses but one. So he's been finished 4 times in 5 losses, 2-2 in the UFC. There's just not a whole lot of promise for Bolanos. He has 6 knockouts. Boxing is his key path to victory here, but his opponent from South Korea is pretty slick, technical on the feet, and I can't see Bolanos really capitalizing or barking in this fight as an underdog. Jeong Lee is a fighter that is on a 2-fight skid, and before that, he beat a guy like Blake Builder, unanimous decision, Yi Za decision, and he had some decent wins before that. 8-3, 8-3, 7-0, 4-2, 19-9. He had a lot of finish wins before his 2 UFC wins. He has 3 submissions and 4 knockouts, now 4 decision wins. He's a very well-rounded fighter. Like I mentioned, slick on the feet, and I think he's slick enough to stay out of danger in this one, grab it on the judges' scorecards. Maybe he can find a finish. I definitely think out of these 2 fighters, the South Korean has that finishing upside, so that's why I'm more confident in this favorite to go out here and get the win in Las Vegas. Like I said, 2-fight skid, the motivation factor is there. Bolanos 8-5, not overly UFC caliber. To be completely honest here, Bolanos is baloney in this one, and rightfully the underdog. Now in the next one, Diyar Nurgozhay is rightfully the underdog after 2 submission losses. Grappling seems to be a hole in his game, but on the feet, he is a powerful striker. His wrestling is all right, but this is a guy that's fought some pretty low-level competition, and the question starts to be, is the UFC caliber? I'm going to say he's not. After Dana White Contender Series Week 7, Tobias looked very good. He got a round 1 finish versus a undefeated fighter, and he's coming out here and getting a relatively easy fight, his first fight in the UFC. Jitters might not be a factor in this one. He's just all around the better fighter. On the ground is where he could lock up a submission here quite easily. Diyar submitted in his last 2 bouts. I'm not having too much faith in him if this fight hits the ground whatsoever. Even on the feet, Tobias is going to be quick to the punch, land more, in my opinion, with the volume, and his leg kicks are nasty too, so it's going to really be hard for Diyar to get his game plan going and get any kind of momentum in this fight. Tobias should have all the momentum and dominate from pillar to post for the most part. Now, the level of competition for both guys, not overly great. Kind of want to hesitate when betting a minus 250 favorite first time in the UFC, but I just honestly think he is better than Diyar Nurgozhay. We got 83% of people picking on Topology Tobias, and Diyar has not looked great in the UFC. 2 submission losses. The path to victory is there for the submission win, and Tobias could go out here and take that submission round 1, round 2, make it look quite easy. He is a 3-1 favorite, and I do expect that line to grow. Looking into Nurgozhay, it's hard to say if he's making big improvements from fight to fight. It does not look like it at all, and this is a guy that does not seem to be UFC caliber. Can't wait to see what Tobias is going to do here. Can he take his opportunity and run with it, or is he going to take a loss. He doesn't have many of them. He's 14-1. Looks like a very promising fighter and prospect. He's only 22 years old. So this is a big test and showcase fight for him. I think he can shine. In the next one is where I think the underdog might shine. He has a 10-inch reach disadvantage, but he usually does in each and every fight. Jesus Aguilar is a fighter that's short for flyweight, and he has no reach advantage in a lot of his fights. A lot of the time, you will never see him with a reach advantage. He's standing there with a reach of 62 inches, but he has power. He has one-punch power, and on the ground, he has a wicked guillotine. A lot of his wins, finish wins, come by guillotine, and he can wrap that up pretty quick. Sumu was a guy that's been submitted 5 times, right? He's been submitted 5 times out of those 7 losses, and I think he could get submitted in this fight. Tim Elliott found the sub in round 1 over Sumu, who has a hole in his game on the ground. On the feet, he has 13 knockouts. He's very quick, making improvements from fight to fight, but on the ground is just a big hole in his game. And with a guy like Jesus Aguilar that can lock that up quite easily, has 7 submissions out of his 12 wins, I am going to take Jesus by a sub here. At some point, it's a 15-minute fight. I think he can lock it up. Jesus, even on the feet, can compete. It's just at range. Sumu is going to really be the better fighter at range. He has a 10-inch reach advantage. He's quick to the punch, and he could go out here and win a decision unanimously. I will happily take a chance on this underdog once again. Jesus will always be moving forward in his fights, where Sumu could be flat-footed, standing forward, moving backwards, and I don't think that's going to score too well on a judge's scorecard. Sumu obviously could land more with the reach, like I said, but I think he's going to get taken down in this fight. And if the submission does not occur, there's just going to be too much control time on the side of Jesus Aguilar, the underdog here, and he likely gets his hand raised. There was a split decision recently for Sumu versus Mitch Raposo that could have went either way. We could be looking at a fight like that. But like I mentioned, that sub could come quite easy. Sumu submitted 5 times to Machnell, Tim Elliott, Luis Smolka, even a guy that was 11-5 way back in the day, 2018. Like, Jesus is very dangerous on the ground. He won a split decision over Mateus Mundonca in 2024. After that, Stuart Nicole went out there and got choked out round 1 on home soil. So Jesus is a guy that's really been performing. He's 4-2 in the UFC with a loss to Tatsuro Terra and Rafael Estevam, who was 12-0 at the time. This is a guy that's been counted out time after time again, and he has cashed as an underdog multiple times. And this could be another one. Hard to count him out. Certainly has a path to victory, and he should execute it, in my opinion. He's the pick in Las Vegas. And the question is, why was he not in Mexico? This would have been a great fight in Mexico. Maybe it's, the Mexican underdog price tag. People would have been more likely to take a chance on him in Mexico rather than in Las Vegas. Maybe it's an underdog that really is live. Maybe he goes out here and takes a loss, and they did not want that to happen in Mexico. So there is a little bit of concern in this fight for Jesus. Like I said at the very start of the prediction, a 10-inch reach disadvantage just ain't that great. That's not a great look, Like, every fight starts on the feet, and lacking 10 inches might be too much. But he's the pick. I got the balls to take him at plus 200. Unfortunately, in this next one, Cody Durden, as an underdog, who has also been profitable as an underdog in the past, can't be my pick. I don't have the balls to do it. I thought I was going to pick him, but in this fight, his opponent is 9-1. And I'm just putting his last name. He has a huge name here, Tumendemberel. He has been in a lot of close fights, but he managed to pull them out. He lost a close fight by split decision to Carlos Hernandez. That one could have went either way. And this is the guy that goes out there and really rags his opponents down to the ground and finds a submission. He has 6 submissions and 2 knockouts. Although his name is the Art of Knockout, he really is good on the ground, and he can ragdoll his opponents there. He has guillotine wins, rear naked chokes, arm bars, pretty slick on the ground, most recently an anaconda choke. And with the performance that he just had, it's hard to disagree that he's a betting favorite, and he's going to go out there and get a submission win here over Cody Durden, who just got submitted by anaconda in his last fight. Cody Durden was a durable fighter looking at his early career in the UFC, but most recently he's on a bad losing streak, 3-fight losing streak, 1 win in his last 6 fights. It's really hard to get behind a guy like this, although I got behind a lot of underdogs recently that did not look good, trust me. And maybe Cody goes out here and gets the win, but it's hard to trust him, and I'm going to learn from my past mistakes. I can't take this underdog here. He got knocked out twice in his last 5 fights. He has 5 submission losses on the record, and he's just struggling for a win. He could get caught being a little over hesitant, a little too greedy, and his chin I can't trust. His chin is likely not going to hold up either if Tumendemberel really brings it to him, a guy with style and speed. Cody Durden is just looking like a whole shell of himself. The Jake Hadley win was good. Charles Johnson win was good. Carlos Moda win was not bad. JP buys Arichi Q Lang. But, his last 6 fights, he was only able to beat Matt Schnell in round 2. And he wasn't even looking too great in that one, to be honest. And that's not enough for me to have belief in him. It seems like it's a get-right spot, possibly. He's due. 3-fight losing streak, but finished in his last 2 fights. This is not a pick I can take. I've learned from some past picks, and hopefully Cody does not go out here and get it done. Because, damn, I wanted to take him to win. It seems like he's due, but I've been saying that, and they just haven't been showing up. They haven't been barking. And 83% of Topology have Tumendemberel. 27 years old. He's looking like the newer generation in the UFC. Looking more UFC caliber. More marketable. He has to be the pick in this one. Respect to Cody Durden. He has fought some great opponents from 125. And I do believe he's fought at 135. He just fought a lot of good guys. High-level competition. Has good wins too. I just have to fade him in this spot. He's looking like a whole different Cody Durden in the last 6. A shell of himself, getting too greedy and getting caught recently. Finished in his last 2 fights. I'd be surprised if he does not get finished here. Poor Cody. And there's another Cody that is coming up that, wow, we might say, oh, poor Cody, because he's probably going to get knocked out round 1. But first, we're going to talk about Alberto Montes, 10-1 versus Ricky Turcios. And Ricky was a guy that won the Ultimate Fighter. But this is another fella on the event that won 1 fight over his last 4. And he's not looking too great either. That win was a split decision. Could have went either way. He could be on a 4-fight losing streak. And he got submitted to Rosas Jr., unanimously lost his other 2 fights. One of them was to Zahabi, but this is a guy that's looking worse and worse from fight to fight, and you can't trust that he's making improvements from fight to fight. So the pick is Alberto Montes, who's clearly making improvements, has a much better record off Dana White's Contender Series, which was a dominant performance back in 2024. He's ready to go after some cancellations, and he should shine in this spot, making his UFC debut at 10-1. Well-rounded game, but he has a lot of submission wins. His last 3 come by submission, and Turcios is certainly live to be submitted and taken down, controlled for majority of the fight, even on the feet. He's just too awkward and weird there with his footwork, head movement. I don't think it's going to do him any good versus a guy like Alberto Montes, who has a lot of promise. He has 7 finish wins out of his 10 wins. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. Although very inactive, has not fought in nearly 2 years now. Might be a decision win if he can't get that sub. Although, you got to think he's going to find that submission at some point. There's going to be big improvements on the side of the Venezuelan rather than the side of Ricky. And that submission will occur at some point in this 15-minute fight. Another thing to mention with this favorite, the line seems a little closer than expected. So early in the week, it's Sunday now. I do believe Montes becomes a bigger favorite and is money this week over Ricky. Pretty Ricky. Not going to look too pretty on the ground here. Now the next one, poor Cody. Not going to look too pretty in this one. Likely getting knocked out in round 1. This is a fighter in Cody Durden. Or not Cody Durden, but Cody Brundage. 11-8. That is not UFC caliber. Although, he goes out there and takes Mansour Abdul Malik to a decision. Result gets overturned. He beats Zach Reese with a knockout slam. Somehow beats Jacob Malkoun with an illegal elbow. Just somehow surviving, keeping that contract. I still believe he is not UFC caliber. He's mainly a wrestler. Now he has power on the feet too. But he's been submitted a few times at this point. Like 3 submission losses, 2 knockout losses. Every loss for him looks pretty bad, even if it goes the distance. Although Eric McConaughey's most recent decision loss was a split decision, this is a guy I cannot get behind if it goes 15. He's 1-3 in the decision column. He doesn't do much, trying to land one shot at a time. And that's kind of what Donte Johnson does too, but he has more raw power, more speed, more explosiveness, and he's 27 years old. He's wore less damage. He's took less defeat, and maybe that's all the more reason for Cody Brundage to teach him a lesson, take him to the ground, and prove that Brundage is the better wrestler. He can be a gatekeeper, but at a record of 11-8, I have a hard time believing that. Real hard time believing that. At this price tag, I can't believe that. Donte should go out here and land that first round KO like he's done multiple times in the past. 6 knockouts, all of them in round 1. It should be a situation like that. Cody on the feet is going to be a fish out of water. Been knocked out a few times, has a couple knockouts of his own, but this is a changing of the guard. Donte's too quick. One thing to mention, Donte has not fought the best level of competition, but he's been running through that competition, doing what he's supposed to do. With a guy like Cody Brundage, he should go out there and knock him out cold. Cam Roston was able to do it only 1 month ago. This is a quick turnaround for Cody Brundage. Took damage in that fight. He got knocked out to Lord McCall round 1. And William Knight even found that round 1 KO back in 2020 over Cody Brundage. That quick round 1 start is what he has trouble with, and that's exactly what Donte will bring him here. A quick round 1 start, hopefully a round 1 KO finish. Easy money for the big favorite on the prelim headliner. It should be the prelim headliner. What is actually the prelim headliner is going to be former champ Cody Garbrandt, 14-7, versus Long Shang, 27-10. Cody Garbrandt, former champ, great footwork, in and out of range, striking, pretty decent, well-rounded game. He's a good wrestler, and that's normally where he can shine. His footwork is what sets him apart from his competition. But at this point, he's getting a little old, 34 years old. He's fighting a young Chinese fighter that's starting to move up the ranks, take steps up in competition at the right time. And it seems like a spot where Long can go out there, make this a long, dragged-out fight, dominate for the most part on the feet and on the ground, just being younger, faster, and having a better game plan. I got to go Long for the win here. Cody is a very talented fighter at 14-7, but his most recent wins are Trevin Jones, 13-9 by a decision, and Brian Kelleher, 24-14 by knockout. pretty well got dominated in his last fight to Raoni Barcelos. He got choked out to Figueiredo. Kai Kara France knocked him out 4 years ago. Cody's been pretty inactive, and I can't trust him. He has a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Long should be able to go out there, dominate in the striking department, make it a long fight, and win this one on the judges' scorecard. Not one I'm getting too invested in. I don't have a whole lot of hope for Long in the future, but it seems like a spot he's going to go out there and get the win over a very popular underdog pick this week in Cody Garbrandt. At plus 135, plus 130 range, you got 70% of Tapology picking him to win, and a lot think he's going to go out there and win that decision. At 34, with long layoffs, I disagree entirely. Long is a fighter that isn't very well known, but he had a nice knockout to Quang Li. He had a split decision to Chang Ho Lee, 9-1, and he had a majority decision on the road to the UFC versus a 13-1 opponent. He's fought very good competition, very stiff competition, and I think he goes out there, makes it a long fight, wins it on the judges' scorecard in boring fashion. Garbrandt ain't getting it done, in my opinion, but I've been wrong multiple times, especially in Mexico. 6 for 13, not acceptable. Looking to turn it around, not trying to take as many underdog opportunities here. I see a few, like Jesus Aguilar, Rodolfo Bellato, and maybe another one coming up. But realistically, a lot of these favorites are getting it done. The bookies are really doing their job. The lines seem to be set right. And for me, it's hard to make money in 2026. We're going to turn it around each and every event and learn from the mistakes and losses. And especially after a week, like I said, 6 for 13, hard to get the motivation to go out there, dig deep, and keep going. But that's all you can do. Keep digging deep, keep working hard, and go get the win. We took a loss last week. We can't sit here and cry about it. We have to go right back to work and dig ourselves out of this hole. Start building the ladder out of the hole. So let's start building some good parlays. We're going to do some live streams this week, so stay forecasted on all platforms. Discord's absolutely free. Hit the link in the description below. Love to see some new forecasters in there. X, we're on there. TikTok, we're on there. Telegram, we got that. So let's get straight to this main card, where it's going to start to heat up a little. Seeing a lot of decisions, though. And we're going to start it off with the first one that I believe is going to go 15 minutes. It's a rematch fight, first of 2 on this event. And it's Gregory Robocop Rodrigues and Bruno Fieda. Now, these two fighters have fought before, and it was Bruno Fieda's first fight in the UFC, where he was really going out there and just finishing guys round 1 with the raw power, explosive power. And now, after a submission loss, he seems to be able to choke guys out. Can he choke out RoboCop? I highly doubt it, but he could knock him out again. That's what he did in their first fight, and it was round 1. Now, why would anything be any different? Well, RoboCop didn't really know what to expect in that fight, of course. RoboCop is a veteran of the game. He has 1 loss in his last 5 fights, and he beat a guy like Chris Duncan by a decision. He beat Roman Kopylov by a decision. Knocked out Hermanson, Tavares like he should have. But his most recent losses are by knockout. And it's to Cannonier and this fella here, Bruno Fieda, who, like I said, has that explosive power, comes out of there round 1, but now most recently can go 15 minutes and beat up his opponent. That Marvin Vettori win shows me he has cardio. He's improving the cardio. He's made a lot of improvements from fight to fight. And being the younger fighter by 1 year, less wear and tear, I got to think he's going to go out there and look cleaner at the end of 15 minutes if it goes there. RoboCop's the guy that wears a lot of damage. His scar tissue opens up quite frequently. He had a cut that looked so bad one fight. So bad. Like, so bad. And he managed to go out there and get the win. He can come back after wearing a lot of damage. But we've seen him knocked out bad versus Brunno that first time. And I'm going to take the underdog in this fight here. Not quite sure why he's such a big underdog. That's definitely a pause for concern. Thought the fight would be 50-50. Maybe even Brunno the favorite. To see him at this number, it's almost a gift. If he goes out there and wins, it's a gift, I should say. Because this could be a trap. Seems like a great spot, great pick, great underdog, dog of the week. But god damn it, could be a trap. Brunno's the pick. I don't think a whole lot's going to change. He's going to dominate, have more damage if it goes 15. If he does not land that KO, I think the KO is super live in this fight. RoboCop is durable, but the scar tissue opens up, and he has been knocked out 4 times in his 6 losses. So durable for how long in this fight? For how long? Fiend is a first-round finisher, quick starter, and proven that the cardio is there and it checks out. He's the pick at a big underdog price tag. Now let's see if it's a trap or if it's a gift. Now, Drew Dober and Michael Johnson is a fight I don't want to predict too long. These are 2 fighters very old in their career, 37, 39, and their records aren't overly impressive. 2 guys that go out there and put it all on the line. They have a lot of raw power, and they both have a win in their most recent fight, which is abnormal for these guys. Drew Dober had a 3-fight losing streak, went out there and beat Kyle Preplik recently. And Michael Johnson, on the other side, has a 3-fight winning streak. When is that going to end? He's a betting favorite, too. Michael Johnson has fought the best of the best. On a 3-fight winning streak, as a favorite, 39, it's like, when is this guy going to lose? When is he going to start to slow down? You haven't seen that yet from Michael Johnson. The menace. I faded him against Zellhuber. And probably Ottman Azayatar. But he's went out there and proved us wrong. And it's hard to go out here and fade him in this fight. Of course, this is the one where we take Michael Johnson for the first time in the last 2 fights, and he goes out there and gets knocked out. He got knocked out to Diego Fieta, round 2. And later in the fight is where I think Michael Johnson's going to take over. Drew Dober's a quick starter, kind of goes out there with everything just on the line, throwing wild, going for the bonus, but he's super hittable, and he doesn't seem to be as accurate in some of his fights unless he gets lower level competition. Michael Johnson is probably more seasoned and technical in this fight to be defensively sound to not get hit and knocked out. He just got caught to Diego Fieta, who was very technical in that one. That was 2 technical strikers, 2 seasoned strikers. And for Drew Dober, he's more of just a maniac on the feet. I wouldn't say he's seasoned or technical on the feet. So in this one, I'll go with the more technical striker, more seasoned. But you gotta beware. Drew Dober has a lot of power, and he's willing to do some crazy shit to land that shot, unlike Michael Johnson. Drew Dober could be the guy moving forward like he does in a lot of his fights. And even though Drew Dober gets knocked out, you got to give credit to him. He has one hell of a chin. He got knocked out to Jean Silva, though. He got knocked out to Manuel Torres. And that chin is going to start to wear out. He's took a bunch of punches over his career. And at some point, somewhere, and at some time, the chin is just going to start to wear out. And he's going to get knocked out more easily, more frequently. He just puts it all on the line. And that's the consequences you pay. Taking that much damage. Man. Like, fuck. You can't hold up forever. The chin is not made of granite steel. Michael Johnson hits hard at the end of the day. And he could knock him out. Either guy could get knocked out. So this fight is one you don't really want to bet on. It's hard to say if it goes over or under. Official forecast for me is a decision win. Michael Johnson, more technical seasoned striker. The chin for Drew Dober. Hopefully he's going to be granite in this fight. And given the fact he gets an old 39-year-old, we got to believe that chin should hold up. Unless Michael can really land that one shot later in the fight. Or if Drew gets too crazy and just gets caught. Swing wild and crazy with little defense. And when doing that, you're way more liable to get knocked out. So very tough fight to predict. Could go either way. We're going Johnson. The next one is Rosas Jr., one of the youngest fighters at the time in the UFC, versus Rob Font, a veteran of the game, now 30 fucking 8 years old, almost 39. Yeah, I'm seeing that right. Rob is getting old. Old Bob Font here. 2 wins in his last 5 fights. Very good boxer, well-rounded skill set. The coach of New England Cartel. And maybe it's just time to be a coach, honestly. Off a loss to David Martinez unanimously. It's going to start to be the downfall, in my opinion, for Rob Font. He had a nice decision win to Jin Matsumoto, 16-0, in his second last fight. But I do believe the downfall starts now for Rob Font. Rosas Jr. has that grappling, won his last 4 fights. He even knocked out a very good Terrence Mitchell. I'm just kidding. Guy was a bum. He was from Alaska, got knocked out. Other than that, 2 decision wins most recently for Rosas Jr. And it's with the grappling, the wrestling, dominant control, constant submission attempts, and that's what this fight's going to look like. Rob Font's too old, too slow, and he's not going to be able to keep this kid off him. Rob Font's more likely to get submitted in this fight than winning the fight, in my opinion. With 1 submission loss, it ain't going to be easy for the youngster to go out there and pull it off, so I am calling the unanimous decision win. Rob Font is 12-8 in the UFC. Rosas Jr. sits here 5-1, looking for his 6th win, 12th pro win. And it should come relatively easy, to be honest. The last 2 did. Absolute domination on the ground. It's a question here, why didn't they put this kid at UFC Mexico? Kind of like Jesus Aguilar. Those are 2 fighters that I would have loved to see in at UFC Mexico. Unfortunately, they did not get that opportunity. I do know Rosas Jr. is training in the States, in California, and making that move to the United States, the gym that he's training at, it's going to do him wonders in the longevity of his career. This is going to be a great fighter in the UFC. And right now, we're seeing improvements from fight to fight. I think he absolutely styles on Rob Font. But Rob Font has proven to us before, you can't count out his boxing. He beat Jin Matsumoto split decision. He beat Kyler Phillips. And he went to a decision with Corey Sandhagen, David Martinez recently, and Davison Figueiredo. He's not an easy guy to finish. Respect to Rob Font. But I'm going with the youngster. 21 years old, Rosas Jr. for the win here. Likely on the judges' scorecards, and he's going to use that grappling. And the next fight is one where it's going to be a whole lot of grappling, and we got Kyle Bahayo and Rainer de Ritter going to work in the cage here, trying to use that grappling. Now, RDR on the feet, looked good against Bo Nickel, and he goes out and gets knocked out to Brendan Allen, throws the towel in. This is a guy with a lot of submission wins. A lot of them. And he's a great grappler. And I would say he is a better grappler than Kyle Bahayo, but Bahayo has a well-rounded skill set. And he's maybe the better wrestler and has more weight in this fight to get RDR off of him and have the top control. And that's really where it matters. RDR is a big frame at 6'4". He has the reach advantage, so I'm probably wrong with that being said. But Bahayo seems to have a lot of power and brute force, and I don't see him being on bottom in this fight. He seems to be able to keep it on the feet, and if this fight is standing, that's where Kyle Bahayo is going to dominate and take this fight 15 for the most part. Bahayo's never been a big finisher, but unanimously he goes out there and beats these guys up. Rather if it's with the strike and with the grappling, he gets it done on the judges' scorecards. He did submit Mikhail Olazechuk, who had a big hole in his game with the submissions. Now, Lord Mikhail's training with Kyle Bahayo, and then he knocked out a chinless Paul Craig. Other than that, a lot of his fights go the distance. He dominates. RDR is going to be a tough grappler, so I don't see Bahayo even wanting to go to the ground in this fight. Not even wanting to exchange with a takedown, anything like that. It'll be RDR that's really going for the takedowns here, really trying to exchange in any kind of grappling, and Bahayo should be able to fight it off, keep it standing, and get that striking going. I expect us to see big improvements from Bahayo. He just took a loss to Nazardine Imavov after a big win streak, and now he's sitting as a big favorite. So big improvements is all what I can expect from this favorite over RDR, who's 35 right now, and at one point it looked like he was going to get a title shot. He was going to move right up the ranks. He beat a guy like Robert Whittaker. It was a split decision, though. Very close fight. He knocked out Bo Nickel, like I said. Kevin Holland choked him out pretty easy. RDR was on a run. But now it looks like he's starting to gas out. And the longer this fight goes, the better Kyle Bahayo should look, in my opinion. His gas tank is incredible. His game plan is incredible. And I can't wait to see what he can do here versus RDR. I think the hype is over for RDR. I was on the hype train for a little bit, but after that last one, I'm off the RDR train. And now we're all aboard the blessed is best train. Max Holloway, BMF belt on the line versus Charles Oliveira is a fight, rematch fight, that I don't think is too hard to predict. Now, I look at a lot of other fights I've predicted at the main event in the past, and I've been wrong. Sean Strickland went out there, dominated. Loner Kavanagh went out there and dominated. Underdogs. Can another underdog go out there and win? I am going to say no. The first time these guys fought, it was a round one finish. Neck, shoulder injury for Charles back in 2015. And in this one, I don't think it's going to be a quick round one finish, but I do think Max Holloway is going to be dominant and find that knockout punch in round 3, official call. The striking and volume from Holloway is on another level. He's more durable, in my opinion, as well. Bronx is the type of guy that had a very tough run after that fight to Max Holloway. He's been knocked out 5 times, submitted 4 times, and the chin, in my opinion, won't hold up, especially after a knockout loss in round 1 to Ilya Topuria just in 2025. June of 2025. The chin really won't hold up if it gets tested, and the volume over a long period of time is what could do it. You look at the Korean Zombie, it was just too much volume, too much punches, and he ended up folding. The last fight for Max was a decision win to Dustin Poirier. He went out there and dominated Justin Gaethje, and then he found the round 5 knockout. And it wasn't complete domination versus Justin Gaethje, but every round he seemed to win with the striking, bigger moments, and certainly the damage. And then he put it all on the line, center of the octagon, and knocked him out with a second left, like he did before. Arnold Allen dominated him by a decision. The only losses for Max Holloway are Volkanovski, 3 losses to Volk, and he lost to Ilya Topuria most recently in 2024. And in that fight, he went to round 3 and got knocked out. He showed us more fight than Charles Oliveira did, most certainly. And this is a guy that should dominate as a betting favorite after so many underdogs have won in the main event. Bronx just ain't going to do it for me. He has knees up the middle to beware of, but his chin is certainly a question mark after getting knocked out brutally to Ilya in 2025. Knocked out brutally in 5 of his 11 losses. Now for this rematch, it's pretty cut and dry for me. Finally, a betting favorite that I can have faith in. But like I said, Sean Strickland proved me wrong. I was super high on Fluffy. Super high on Fluffy. I was probably smoking the Fluffy, you know. Fucking goddamn. Then last week, put the Moreno in the bong, smoked that up. It was wrong. Loner Kavanagh goes out there and wins. So time after time again, we get reminded nothing is a guarantee. Nothing in this sport is a guarantee. You got to manage the bankroll wisely. But when you have a feeling When you feel like it's a good betting opportunity, you got to take the chance. If you take a loss, it is what it is. You learn from it. Sometimes there's no lesson or learning to do. You just lost. That's why you manage the bankroll wisely. And in the long term, we look to win. In the long term, Holloway is a winner. Bronx has been a loser. So we're going to pick the blessed is best here. Hopefully, finally, a betting favorite pulls it out. He will be a lock of the week for me. Super confident pick for Fight Fiend this week. Max, blessed Holloway. I really don't see how he does not dominate this fight and find a later knockout finish. But I've been wrong in the main event spot 2 weeks in a row, maybe even 3 in a row. So don't take what I say and go put all your hard-earned money on it. You always got to manage the bankroll wisely and have your own opinion. If you have a different pick, that's completely fine. It's okay to disagree. I'm just here to give you my picks and predictions. If you want my official bets, hit the links in the description below. Patreon's the link you would be looking for. Platinum forecasters are the ones getting all the bets each and every week, the parlays. So hit the Patreon link, become a platinum forecaster in Patreon. That is where you see the bets. These are the picks for free. I'm just letting you know how I feel on these fights. Do I bet on each and every one of them? Hell no. Should you? Hell no. But we manage the bankroll wisely when we do and look to win long term. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Fight Fiend forecast. Smash that like button before you go. Subscribe if you have not yet. And make sure you tune in Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The Prop Fiends are going live. And there could be a possible $50 giveaway. I said we were going to stop that for 1 week. Figure out a new system. But we could do a live giveaway on the show. $50 has been given out multiple weeks in a row. So thanks everybody for being in that comment section. Putting hashtag F3. Now it's time to change it up a little bit. We're going to figure out what we do. Just make sure you're there Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the live chat. There could be a live $50 giveaway for all the people commenting in the live chat. At the end of the show, I'll put all the names that commented in the live chat in a giveaway wheel for a chance to win $50. So you got to be there Friday to enter the giveaway. New style this week. I still want to give out 50 to people on the Prop Fiend show. So all what you got to do, show up, comment on the live chat, and you're going to be entered in that giveaway wheel. Let's keep the giveaway wheel going. Just be there, like the video, drop a comment, and you will be entered to win at the end of the video. So this week, hopefully we can turn it around. Hopefully we can get hot. Usually after some of my worst losses, worst events, I've turned it around, had a great event, made a lot of money. So just stay patient, stay managing the bankroll wisely, and we will win long term. Right now, I'm not going to lie, it's tough. Hard to get motivation, but I'm here on Sunday. I got the forecast report out, UFC 326 full card predictions out, and I'm going to be working on content all week. Hopefully have more live streams out this week too. So stay forecasted, and we will be back for more. Let's attack these bookies.